Let's get him right.
And again, just because we lost a little bit at the beginning, where are you physically now? This is
I'm just south of the Holland Tunnel in downtown Manhattan, perhaps 10 to 15 blocks north of the World Trade Center.
Got it. And the pictures that our viewers are looking at, this was that collapse of the South Tower.
Correct.
Just a few minutes ago here in New York.
Yes, and moments after that, people began running toward us. Jennifer Westover, who normally is at the stock exchange, was only about 5 blocks away, and she saw the same thing.
Alan, thank you. Let me go to one of New York's deputy mayors, Randy, the former deputy mayor. What are you hearing, Randy?
I only know what I have seen on television. I'm trying to talk to some friends.
Here we go. Hand me the microphone. There we go.
I only know what I have heard on television. I've tried to speak to some friends, obviously. Phone lines, communication is difficult. You know, nothing prepares you in life for a senseless tragedy like this one, but there is no city better prepared to deal with such emergency situations than New York City.
Tell me, based on the plan, what is happening 30 blocks away?
Sure. Mayor Giuliani established early on an Office of Emergency Management to coordinate all the government agencies involved. So you have coordinated leadership of police, fire, health, all the city agencies responding to that emergency. They planned for this kind of event. Unfortunately, this is not a unique occurrence in the life of New York City or our country. Tragedies like this
may not be a unique occurrence, but it is a very rare and extraordinary one.
It is extraordinary, and therefore, in New York City, we have coordinated response, and they're responding now and providing every help that they can under these extraordinary circumstances.
Hang on one second. We have a report now of an explosion on Capitol Hill, and we are checking that out. We have a report of a plane crashing at the Pentagon being evacuated, fire on the mall in Washington, the State Department evacuated, and we have all flights shut down across the country as officials sort out what's happening here. Randy, back to you for a second. How much of the, well, if I recall this correctly, there is what was called a bunker, the mayor's bunker, for these sorts of events in the Trade Center, correct?
There is an emergency management center at the Trade Center.
Clearly the mayor is not there.
I have not spoken with the mayor, so I don't know his physical location, but I do know that coordinated emergency response started immediately. It's something that the city prepares for, and it's something that, you know, under these tragic circumstances, the city is doing everything it can to respond.
How much of the plan changed after the World Trade Center bombing in '93?
Well, there was no coordinated city response. There was no Mayor's Office of Emergency Management. Rudy Giuliani established that. It's been one of the hallmarks of his tenure, and unfortunately, there are extraordinary circumstances like this one where that coordinated effort has to come into play, and is coming into play now.
Why don't you, if you can, stay with us for a little bit.
Sure.
I suspect other questions are going to come up. I want to go through again what we know here at this point, and also point out some things that are not insignificant that we don't know. And one of the things we don't know is we do not now know how many fatalities there have been and how many injuries there are. We can only surmise that this has been catastrophic, a catastrophic event here in New York. Both Trade Center towers hit. One of them appears to have collapsed. How much of it collapsed? These are very large. In any case, we cannot tell you how many injuries, how many fatalities there have been. This is one of those situations that is extraordinarily chaotic. Even in the best of planning, I think it's fair to say that it is chaotic, and officials are trying to do many things at one time. We have on the phone a pilot who witnessed these planes crashing in to the World Trade Center. Sir, can you tell me your name? John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
John, tell me what you saw.
This morning we were at Midtown Manhattan in a 31st floor of a building facing south. We saw a 767 flying low down the center of Manhattan Island heading towards downtown Manhattan. At about maybe 20 blocks north of the World Trade Center, we saw the plane veer to the left and fly directly into the north side of the South Tower.
So this was the second plane that hit the tower, correct?
No, this was the first plane.
Got it.
This was the 767.
Got it. John, hang on. Kate Snow's on Capitol Hill. Kate, what can you tell us about the events there?
Well, I'm a couple of blocks away from the Capitol right now. I can tell you that about a half hour ago, the Capitol building itself was evacuated. It was a little bit chaotic. Everyone was running out of the building. People ran a couple of blocks away. We have now been pushed back by security. We're within 2 blocks of the Capitol. I did see myself a plane about a half hour ago circling over the Capitol. Now, whether that may have been an Air Force, a U.S. plane, it's unclear. But that seemed to be the reason, according to security guards that I talked with, for the evacuation of the Capitol. They had seen something or heard something suspicious. They've evacuated the Capitol and the surrounding buildings, the office buildings, at least on the House side, which is where I'm standing. There are 3 House office buildings. Those have also been evacuated. We're seeing members of Congress are walking by us here on the sidewalk. I can also, you go ahead.
Kate, I'm sorry, and if you said this, I apologize, and I apologize to viewers too. Was there, to your knowledge, an explosion at the Capitol?
No, sir, there was not. I can see the Capitol from here. Everything looks to be fine. There was, however, Aaron, a sound about 5 minutes ago that sounded like some sort of explosion. Now, everything's in close proximity here in Washington. It could be that may have been something that happened at the Pentagon. We're not very clear on that. But we did hear a sound. We heard something that sounded like a loud boom about 5 minutes.
And Kate, you are again how far away from the Capitol building itself?
I'm standing on Pennsylvania Avenue, which is a main artery in Washington, D.C., and I'm about 2 blocks away from the Capitol. I did just see a spokesperson, by the way, for the Speaker of the House, Mr. Hastert, Dennis Hastert, who tells me that Mr. Hastert and other leaders have been evacuated into what he called a secure location. It's not clear where exactly they are, but they've been somewhere secure.
And because we can't see it at this point, just give me a sense of what it looks like there. Are there many, many people on the street?
Yeah, the sidewalks, people are calm. I think most people don't really know what's going on. Most people haven't been watching the news. But the sidewalks are definitely full of people where, normally at this time of the morning there wouldn't be that many people out here. And as I say, I've been passed by numerous members of Congress and senators and staff, who I know well, who have been coming past me asking me what's going on.
Okay, why don't you hang around here and continue to report on that. Let me just, again, for those viewers who are joining us at about 20 minutes past 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, let me just briefly recap. Attacks on 2 American cities, New York and the Capitol in Washington. It began at about 8:45 Eastern Time when a plane crashed into the World Trade Center. That was the building hit first. And then about a half an hour later, a second plane, and I'm not sure if we have the tape available. If we do, we'll show it to you. You can see the second plane coming in from the right side of your screen, going into the tower itself. This is an extraordinary and troubling piece of tape. The Justice Department is now being evacuated. The second attack on the Trade Center occurred about a half an hour or so after the first one. We have a report, CNN has been told, that an American Airlines 767 jet was hijacked out of Boston today. We don't know which of those 2 planes hit the tower the second time. In the last 10 minutes or so, the South Tower, or at least a portion of the South Tower, has collapsed. CNN's David Ensor joins us from Washington. David, where in the Capitol are you now?
Well, Aaron, I'm in our bureau, but I have on the telephone with me Barbara, who is the wife of a friend of mine and who is an eyewitness to exactly what happened at the Pentagon. Barbara, can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, what exactly did you see? Let's look at the Pentagon now as you describe what exactly happened at the Pentagon this morning.
As we were driving into town on 395, there was an exit. We were trying to get off the exit for the Memorial Bridge. Off to the left-hand side was a commercial plane that came in and was coming too fast and too low. And the next thing we saw was it go down below the side of the road, and we just saw the fire that came up after that.
How large was the explosion?
It was large.
Was there sound as well?
That I can't verify because the windows were up in the vehicle.
Was it clear to you what had happened?
Yes, definitely.
So you believe it was a commercial airliner that was hitting the Pentagon?
Yes. And I'm not sure exactly where the Pentagon, where it was in relationship to where the plane went down.